Hey folks, welcome back for another TWiP Pro photo critique. This is critique session number 46.
This is TWiP.
Hey, welcome back to another This Week in Photo or TWiP Pro photo critique. This is session number 46. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal glossy studio environment. I am actually doing the critique from a hotel in that's right next door to Disneyland, actually. So we're down here at Disneyland to go meet Minnie and Mickey and all those people. But I wanted to get this critique in so that you guys are not penalized by my need to see the rabbit, or the mouse or mice. Yeah, the mice. So here with me to step through the photos this week is Mr. Troy Miller. What's going on, Troy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm a little exhausted. We got to where am I right now? Anaheim? This is Anaheim, right? I am in Anaheim, California. We got here yesterday, went to downtown Disney and hung out, saw the lights, and spent way too much money on some steak frites, and then
yeah,
and then now after we record this critique, we're heading into the park, man. So we're gonna head into Disneyland for the first. This is my first time at Disneyland. First time ever in the history of Frederick Van Johnson on a Disney property. So
that is all you will ever need.
So a little bit'll do you. It's got that kind of thing. Yeah, no. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Then tomorrow we're gonna hit the California Adventure thing, and then do some cleanup work on the last day, and then head home. And we may even be swinging by to say hello to the Millers out there. So you guys are nearby, right? This is your neighborhood. How do you have a Disney in your neighborhood? That's so crazy.
Well, it's Southern California, so a neighborhood isn't relative. It's all, traffic separates us. I'm 50 miles from Anaheim, but it takes me 2 hours to get there.
Oh, geez, yeah. That. Welcome to Southern California, right? Or just welcome to California in general. California is just a heart attack of traffic. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's do this. We got a lot of submissions to step through and some things to address. So what say we drop into TWiP Pro and start chopping wood? Yeah,
let's do it.
Okay, all right, let's do it. All right, so here's the first one. So Armando Brook, he just submitted this yesterday. This is a cool shot, man. So he says, this photo is also composite. This was using my small but great Sony RX100 M3 f2.8 24mm ISO 400 at 1/2000th of a second. I took 10 photos and merged them in Photoshop using Panorama, and then worked in all the masks to show the right parts. Let's bring this up full screen here. Look at that. Look at that. This reminds me of that shot. You see the shot when you're going through like animation classes and things like that, where they show I forget who did it, but it was a photographer who did the shot to prove that at one point all 4 hooves of a horse leave the ground. Yeah. So they did the stop motion shot similar to this, but he wasn't jumping over the barrier thing. But what do you think of this? I have some thoughts on it. And some good, some constructive, but overall good. Where do you start off at this?
I love the creativity that's in here. I think this is awesome. I think this tells such an amazing story using the same tools that I would use to do a portrait or to do a landscape shot. We're using basically the same tools, just using them a little bit differently. So that's really, really neat. And I love the symmetry with the hurdle in the middle or the barrier, whatever it is, and the balance that he's created in there. I would love to see the ground cleaned up a little bit more. If you're going to go through all this compositing and Photoshop work, you cleaning up those white spots would just get rid of some of that distraction.
Yeah, I saw that too. My first of all, Armando, I love this shot. I don't have any negative criticism from just a compositional sort of look at it. My first thought was, do we need that many of the horses in there? Would it be stronger with maybe a third, maybe taking out maybe every other horse and jockey? I don't know what that would look like, but that's a different shot entirely. Like this one is showing, these are like waves of motion showing this horse, and a crap ton of work to do the masking in there. I'm sure this is the masking effort that he had to do in here. And I was zooming in. I zoomed in to see because he did some masking work in this. I zoomed in to see if I could find the what do you call it? Let's see if I could see the trails of his masking efforts. Yeah, so overall, yeah, and I do agree with you on the sort of cleaning up the what those white spots are on the bottom there. Those could probably be taken out. And what are those little things on the left and right? You see those? Those little kind of U-shaped.
Oh, I don't know.
Things.
They're like markers or something, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if those could be removed, or if those are germane to the overall photo.
Yeah, and you know, this is a challenging subject, and I don't know if he could have gotten any lower and shot more up into the sky, so you don't have the busy building behind there. And you know, as you were talking, the more I was looking at this, I can see that the sky has been burned down because you can see the gradient on the buildings are not the same. At
the top, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's definitely around the feet of the horses, you can see some telltale signs of cloning. So concept amazing, presentation amazing, treatment is amazing. It's just I think a little bit of the Photoshop work for a final image just needs a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
But I love the idea. Geez, it's so neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be a lot of work.
I can't imagine. Yeah, that looks like a lot of work. And what a way to get yourself trained up on how to do masking correctly, right?
Well, I wonder, because in Photoshop, if you stack stuff, like if you get a bunch of images and you stack them and you use statistics, depending on how you choose it, it can only add things that moved.
Yeah, the median command. Yeah, it can do that. Yeah, but it's not perfect. And I believe you can set it so that it automatically generates a mask for each layer as it does its work to give you a good starting spot. But still, there's going to be a lot of work in there, especially for a shot like this, because you know. But yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, that median command, I did a tutorial. Maybe I'll revise that tutorial. I did a tutorial many years ago on how you could use the median command in auto stack layers and smart objects to remove any deltas that happen within a scene. Like in this case, he's compositing multiple things together. In the case that I demonstrate, it's removing things that change. So you could shoot the one example I talk about is doing a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, and getting a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge without any people on it.
Right. Like or at Disneyland, getting a shot.
Or at Disney. Maybe I should redo that here, right?
There you go.
Yeah. All you need is a tripod and Photoshop, and you can remove. I call it the neutron bomb. He just removes all the people from a scene, but leaves the structures intact, right? So, yeah. So that's cool stuff. All right. Well, thank you, Armando, for this submission. Let's move on to the next one. We've got something to step through here. Thomas Aaron says, Amsterdam kids, let's bring this up, Amsterdam kids watching tourists from their perch on the second story. Yeah, I want to get there. One day I'll get to Amsterdam so I can perch and people walk. This is a cool street photography shot, right? Kind of photojournalistic.
It is very cool, and I'm just sort of amazed by the fact that like they had to get their legs out there together, right? Like,
of course.
Yeah, like he's definitely like, well, I want my feet outside.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering, is he actually waving at you, Thomas? Like, are they actually looking right at you, waving at you? If so, that's pretty cool.
I want to say yes. I was thinking the same thing. And it looks like they're making eye contact there. He's probably throwing up a thumbs up.
Yeah. Were you wearing your cowboy hat when you were in Amsterdam?
Is that legal in Amsterdam to wear a cowboy hat?
Everything's legal in Amsterdam.
That's very true. Most things are legal. But looking at this shot, the first thing I was thinking was, you know what? Does color add to this? You know, we always say, will it look better black and white? But I think the yellow sort of reverse L of the building looks great in this shot, and it sort of adds to the I don't want to, just sort of the region that they're in and the sort of bright pastel colors that you typically find in that region of the world, that sort of adds to that, along with the caption. So now that we know that they're in Amsterdam, that all sort of makes sense. I think if you were to take the color out, it'd still be a strong shot, but it would lose a little bit of its sense of place.
Of course, yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree.
Yep, cool. All right, moving right along. Photojournalistic shot. And then now we've got Kai Groddert, a joy, kid playing in a water fountain. Let's bring this one up. Look at that. Look at that. Do you remember the days when you felt like that, Troy Miller?
No. No.
Just sheer joy and fun and excitement. No cares in the world. No, not caring about politics or technology or the next piece of gear to buy or anything. You're just like, me and this water are going to have a good time for 10 minutes.
Again.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this shot?
Oh, I love the timing. The timing's amazing. You got that water stream coming in and the expression on their face, and that's just so cool. I wish we had a little more room to camera left and a little bit less room camera right. But it doesn't make or break the photo. I think everything's in that expression in the face. If we're gonna do something to this photo, I would say a little dodging and burning. Try to bring some of the face out a little bit more because it can get lost in there. But our expression in the beginning obviously tells the story that this image works. So you don't need to do much to it.
Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree on all counts. And that was my only comment as well. I was going to ask you about the crop. Are you cool with the square crop?
Yeah, I love the square crop. I either perfectly centered or a little more space on camera left as opposed to space behind.
Okay, awesome. Kai, thank you, sir. That was a great shot. All right, James Glennie's in the house. James Glennie says, let's see, I won't read all this. You guys can read this later. He shot this with a Canon 6D 24-105 f4 IS at 45 millimeter for 2 seconds at f10 ISO 100. He said he had to climb down a sketchy cliffside to get to a little outcropping. And he's happy he did not fall in. Let's take a look at this shot. Yep, this is that shot. I love the long exposures on waterfalls. It's almost like this is the steak and potatoes of landscape photography right here.
Yeah. No, this is absolutely beautiful. And this image, if it was in my library, would be black and white. I'm just channeling, Ansel Adams and that kind of thing. I just think that's would be amazing in black and white. Yeah. And if this had been shot infrared, I got to tell you, I think it would have been pretty spectacular.
Oh, really? Yeah. What would have happened? Like the green foliage would have turned white?
Yeah, the green foliage would have started to glow, and that would have sort of combined with the water, and I think it would give it sort of an eerie look. But you could actually do that in post because there's not a lot of different colors in here. But with that said, great composition, good job getting that long exposure and not falling in the water. And yes, the branch needs to come out. I mean, he does make a comment in here on how to do that. It's meticulous in order to remove something like that. You literally have to just go in and nibble at it piece by piece by piece and be very careful about how you get rid of that. Otherwise, it won't look natural. But you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I was looking at this shot, and I've been playing with this tutorial that I'm building right now on animating still photographs. And I've just sort of been pulling random shots from different sources to, like, in many of them like this, to add animation to in post. And this is a perfect candidate for that, where it's already got motion in there and you just play around with it and make that water move.
That stuff just kills me. I'm
Are you not a fan of that? You're not a fan of
No.
Oh, you're just old. Come on.
Still photo. If you wanted to move, take a video.
No, you're missing the point. But that's a whole nother conversation. I am an advocate of that stuff. That stuff is really cool. All right, moving right along. James Glennie, thank you for that.
Yeah, James, if you want to know how to get rid of that branch, I'll be happy to shoot a quick video where we can do something, because it's a technique in and of itself. So can't describe it here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, hit me up.
Cool. All right, next shot is Tim Engel. Tim says, this is UV paint on skin. Look at that. Tim is always the experimenter. I love it.
Right, right. My first thought, is that even safe?
UV paint on skin, like radioactive isotopes on the dermis.
No, I dig this. Yeah, I'm just... You know, at first it looks like the graphics are kind of mirrored, but, you know, they're not. There's enough randomness and inconsistency in there. So whoever did all that time to paint that on there is like, holy crap. Mm-hmm. Like, great image, Tim, but I want to see the artist put that on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim does time lapses every now and then of his work. Tim, I wonder, did you shoot a time lapse of this makeup being applied? That would have been cool.
But I love the technique. I mean, this is a very creative process for photographing this model in this way. You know, it's symmetry, it's balance, but yet, you know, we know exactly where to look. You know, the chin is lifted, the light's coming from the top. It's, you know, it's very thoughtful, and I think that our images all need that, right? It doesn't matter what we're shooting, we need to think that kind of process through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I love it. Yeah, I've got no further comments on this one. I was thinking, as I stare at this, I want to see those eyes open a little bit.
with like reptile contacts. Like
right. Just a little bit, you know, chin tilted down with just like a menacing stare at me. That'd be killer. I know Tim probably did that. Knowing Tim, he's probably got a million different variants of this shot. So.
Or a grimace with sharpened teeth.
Oh yeah. Very cool. Good job, Tim Engel. Very nice, man.
Yeah, that's definitely a favorite.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Tim Engel, always pushing the envelope. True fashion photographer right there. All right. There's my little gentle reminder. The next one is from Mark Harris. Mark says, a romantic portrait as part of one of my regular model sessions, Nikon D850 Zeiss 50mm f1.4 at f5. 1/250th of a second, ISO 400. This was my 8th session with this model since 2012. Oh, wow, look at that. She looks like a famous actress. I can't remember, can't put my finger on it. I think I've seen her somewhere before.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. She does have a familiar...
Got that classic model beauty thing going on.
Yeah.
Or actress thing going on. All right, portrait shooter.
Oh, I'm just I'm looking. No, I'm kind of stuck in the image. I'm just looking at it. I mean, I really like this. I think that I'm looking at the mood, and then I'm thinking, you know, a romantic portrait, and I'm having a hard time connecting the two. So, if this was in an image competition and the title was a romantic portrait, it would be very confusing to the viewer. You know, that title and then the image, because this is not most of what an image of romantic might look like, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of like looking, seeing what am I missing. Putting that aside, I mean, I love the pensive pose and the disheveled, you know, nightgown, as it were, or whatever. I mean, I love all that. The black and white treatment is great. Her hand, mostly, but we have to be careful when we're doing portraits, and we have to watch skin tones. So, like, her legs are obviously don't get as much sun as maybe the top side of her arm.
Oh, so yeah, right.
Want to dodge that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I never until that's why these critiques are so valuable for me, because I never thought about that. You know, I mean, you know, even as humans, as we move around, I think we understand that there's a sun in the sky, and that certain parts of the body will get more than the other, and they'll be darker or whatever. And you just like, okay, whatever, you know, just subconsciously. But you, Troy Miller, see it in the photo and flag it like, okay, you need to make sure those skin tones are even. That's why, for me, these critiques are very, very valuable. So cool.
Yeah, it's just little things like that catch my eye. It's all about continuity in the image. Mm-hmm. Is if the back of the arm and the leg have the same skin tone, and her face is slightly brighter than the rest of the image, you know, things like that, leading lines. You know, we read the image and it's much more pleasing whether we're conscious of it or not. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm conscious of it. Like, the very first thing I saw when this image came up, there's 3 things that I saw before I even saw her face, and it's just me, maybe not the average viewer, but the string that's behind her left foot, on the floor. The black line in the wall on the right, which is probably a shadow from a door or something. I would have taken that out. And then there's a little tiny black spot on the paneling behind her right leg.
I see
just
that.
above the floor.
Yeah.
And those are just things that I see right away. And then that horizontal line right above it, that if those things were to be cleaned up and removed, your eye almost has no choice but to go to her face.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Well, I mean, it goes to what we always say: remove the distractions, right? As many as possible. And again, this is not a photojournalistic shot, so removing those isn't a crime against nature. It is
true,
right? So, well, cool, awesome. Let's move on.
Good job, Mark. Though I love his images. I love those things.
Agreed. Mark Harris in the house, home run as usual. All right, Michael Rhino says, this photo was taken early this morning at a frozen lake in a wildlife refuge about 5 miles north of downtown Denver with his Nikon D850 Tamron 24-70 ISO 100 at f/5.6 for 1.6 seconds. Let's bring that up.
I love these.
Yeah, this is loading. There it goes. And by the way, folks that are watching this, so this is an exercise in, this whole critique has been an exercise in like military stamina. So I'm deployed to Anaheim, California right now, and I'm tethering to the internet through my iPhone. That's what's providing my internet connectivity. So I'm loading these images and doing a two-way video conference with Troy Miller while switching video, all sitting in my hotel room with people about to bust in to drag me to Disneyland. So
yeah, signals are bouncing off satellites in outer space.
Exactly. This was not possible just a few years ago. So please take a second to savor the power that we all have now to do this kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. That said, frozen lake, a little bit north of Denver.
You know, I think this is one of those kind of shots where there's two images in here. There is the shoreline in the back below the trees down, which shows the reflection of the lake and the reeds. But the reeds are really distracting to me, and I really just want to crop out the reeds and just see from there up. Now I know we're going to lose the frozen lake mostly if we do that, and I realize, like, you're showing that reflection. Excuse me, but we don't know that it's frozen unless you tell us. But that sky and the silhouettes of the trees, that's where the magic is. That in this image, to me, that's really where the magic is. Interesting. Okay. Would you instead of cropping those reeds out, you think it's too much of a job to clone them out of there, or is it too? That's a lot of pixels to try to replicate. Yeah, because you got the shadows of the trees trying to get them just right, and I don't know that you could do that. I mean, I'm sure you could. This is one of those. Yeah, this is one of those kind of locations that I would be looking to get on somebody's shoulders to try to get up above the reeds as much as I can to shoot back down. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And sometimes you just can't, you know. Yeah, my initial thought on the shot was beautiful. I didn't think about the reeds like you did. I thought more of, I want to see more of this, of the left side of the frame. Like, I feel like I want, maybe this feels like it wants to be a panorama. I want to see more of that frozen lake. I want to see more of that dividing line. And then the dividing line, of course, like we talk about, it's not a rule that you can't bisect the image, but it is kind of an unwritten guideline not to bisect an image in the middle, which he didn't really. It skews more towards the bottom. But I would like to see that accentuated a little, maybe move down just a little bit. You want to crop it all, you know, most of that water out of there. I just bring that land mass down a little bit, and I want to see more of the image on the left side of the frame, just to give it that more of a sense of expanse of the frozen lake, because that's the subject. I mean, according to his caption, the frozen lake is what he drew attention to. So I want to see more of it, and, you know, less of the other sort of supporting characters in the frame. Yeah, yeah. There's just a lot for your eyes to go to, a lot for you to try to figure out, you know. Yep. Very cool. All right, Michael Rhino. Thank you, sir.
All right, moving right along. Craig Stampley, shameless plug.
Yeah, it's got his sign in there, Stampley Photography.
Oh yeah, there it is. Look at that. Look, are you leasing out Stampley Photography? What's going on, Craig? No, that is cool. Okay, so this is more of just like a street photography, photojournalistic shot, right?
Yeah, I like that. I think that, you know, with like this, it's the subject of the car and the two guys there, and I would like just a super tight crop. Even leave the sign in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just want to use that, crop the side, crop down from the top, you know.
How close of a crop in from the side? Would you crop the guy out with the sunglasses on?
Yeah, I might crop it right alongside the sign, and then just off the front bumper, and then right down from the buildings, you know, really, really, really tight, really tight.
Mm-hmm. To really say what's the subject, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Because the other thing that we as humans, from a photography education standpoint, you know, our eye goes to the brightest thing in the scene, right? We always say that, but it also goes to words first, right? You want to read, if you see some words in there, you're going to read those words first, and then that starts your journey around the image to kind of support what those words were saying. So
right, very true. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Psychological stuff. All right, moving right along. Thank you, Craig, for that. Very cool. Is that your car, Craig, by the way, that Porsche? That's kind of nice. Fig Tree Pocket Light Trails from Craig Stampley. This is 15 millimeter, 30 seconds at f8 ISO 100.
That's so weird. It took me a second because the lights are wrong. The lights look wrong, right? Like for us on our freeway, I'd have tail lights on the right and headlights on the left, you know, on the road to the right. And I'm like, why is it like that?
Yeah. Troy Miller. It's not right and wrong American.
No,
it's not. It's
different. Not right in my brain.
It's just different American.
My brain starts translating the image and goes, "What? Why is it doing that?"
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just like subconsciously, you're like, "Wait, but the what?" Yeah.
But you know what, though? That's a really neat thing to consider. So we're so used to seeing an image a certain way. Even if you were to take a basic image and just the fact that those things are flipped, it just makes your brain start like gnawing on it again. Like, okay, what's going on in here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, another way to keep the viewer locked into the image.
Yeah, I love the juxtaposition of the two directions of lines. You know, it's a very graphical element of, you know, the headlights going this way and the other headlights going off to the right. You know, there's a lot of graphical elements in here. I would probably crop out more of that sky because I think it really comes right down to, you know, the tail light patterns. And I would try to really focus on those a little bit more. But I dig it. I think that's really cool.
No, I like this too. I always like these shots that play with time, right? And stretch space and time. Compress. This is in other words, this is compressing, what did he say? 30 seconds into one frame. Right? So I love that. That just for some reason that really like makes me happy when I see that kind of stuff.
Now here's something that I would love to see, and obviously you have to be careful doing this or find a safe place to do this, but you know, tail lights are always either to your left or your right. But it would be cool if somehow a pair of tail lights had gone past you, right? Like you were in the middle of the road, invisible, and you know, the car passed through you and you saw the tail lights whoosh past you on either side.
Yeah. Hey.
A little Photoshop magic maybe, but
that's the thing about photography, man. There's always, it's like fishing in the ocean. There's always something new, right? So, cool. Craig Stampley, thank you, sir. Moving right along.
Shot, Craig.
All right, Wes Jordan. And Wes Jordan says, this is from a recent family portrait session. I like the shot, but I'm hoping you guys will point out some things to improve. All right, I'll leave this to you. Man, you are the wedding and portrait photographer of the team.
You know, right away, I mean, I really, really love this image. It tells a great story. I love the fact that, you know, the little girl's looking back. I don't know if that was just sort of random happenstance, but I think that's fantastic. I love the fact that mom's hair, I'm assuming that's mom. It could be sister. I don't know. But, well, we'll go with mom's hair is nice. You know, and it's not always something that you can fix. But when I set up family portraits or tell them to walk, I always fix hair and fix shirts and things. And that right there, that's great. My OCD is very happy. I love the leading lines. I mostly like the composition. I feel it's a little heavy to the right. I think we could crop off the left a little bit. And my only suggestion is, and I'm thinking that probably during the shoot you didn't want to get into the wet grass. But I think if you had moved to the left and isolated them against the sky so we could see more of that leading path. So imagine that you could see the path around them, right?
Yeah.
And the tree wouldn't overlap, you know, the far person to the left. But all those things said, this is quite an amazing shot. I mean, there's a lot of story going on in there, and I'm sure that the family loved it.
Yeah. Love it.
And I like the treatment. I think the treatment's a little heavy for some clients. They may not like that dark, edgy, grainy, blocked up blacks, but that's the artist's choice.
Yeah.
So
maybe he did the whole thing. I mean, maybe that's his style for this particular album. Was sort of this dark, high contrasty feel.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned that is because, you know, a lot of my work, you know, I have like sloppy borders and high contrast color. And then, you know, I do the same thing and I do these what I call specials, which really tweak the color. And I always get photographers that are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, but my clients love it. So, you know, I think this is great, putting this sort of on the fringe of a traditional color portrait. I like the fact that it's black and white, it's grainy, and it's out there. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that.
Love it. Cool. So in an image competition sort of context, how would this place?
This would merit really well. So out of a scale of 1 to 100, 80 being something that it's a minimum point you want. I mean, this is an 85 to an 87, without a doubt. I think that you know the judges are going to knock off points from negative space on the left that you don't need, and the tree that is competing with mom. If you just remove the tree and cropped off the left a little bit, you can keep them off center, but not as much. I think that in a competition, it cleans it up and your score would go higher.
Cool. All right.
Good job. I like that.
Very cool. All right, Wes, from one wedding and portrait photographer to another. All right. Moving down, another from Wes. Yeah, Wes submitted this one. I put a comment in this one about the, I knew you were going to say something about the truncated limb, right? He says, a portrait.
George has a vendetta of body parts. Oh my gosh.
He
said, yes, I know. So he knows.
Yes, everyone knows you, man. He says, portraits of the mom during a recent family shoot. It's a little more low key and dramatic than what I normally do. What critiques do you guys have? Okay, let's bring this up. All right, Troy, you're on. What do you think?
Well, first off, let me just say it's a beautiful portrait. So, you know, you've got this nice light. You've got the hair is beautiful. It's the lighting is nice. You know, for me, it's body language. Her body is. I'm assuming she has her weight balanced on both feet. And because I can see, like, from her hip, her waistline, she's standing up straight. So what I would suggest is when you pose somebody like this, she would put her weight on her right leg. That would make the right hip pop, and that's going to create sort of an S curve in her body, bring that right elbow down a little bit more. And then also that would drop her right shoulder, so it would separate from her face, and it would open up that gap, right, between her right shoulder and her face. That space would open up, and it would feel, you know, more open.
Yeah.
You know, and then what would happen is then you could move in a little bit tighter, crop just below the elbow, and you get this nice, beautiful 3/4 sort of short lit type portrait. But really, for me, it's body language. She just needs to relax and get those shoulders tilted on an angle. And I'm actually doing the pose right here.
Wait, let me put you on camera so you can do it.
No.
All right, go for it. Give us the pose, Troy.
Well, see, it's just standing up nice and straight, like the shoulders are flat. But if I put my weight on my left leg and I tilt down, and notice my elbow comes down, and then now your shoulders have a slant, and then they look off, it opens up that space right here. See, if I had Wes here to take my picture. But that's really little subtle things, and when you're posing, you could just be like, hey, put your weight on your right leg, let that hip pop out, relax, and people just like go whoosh, they just kind of fall into that.
Yeah. Huh. Very cool. The art, the subtle art of doing this kind of photography is always amazing.
We can cover all that stuff when we do a live session.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, cool. Thank you, Wes. All right, and who's next? Laura Patton. Okay, Laura says, when you're really bored in church, what better than to look for something cool to photograph? Look at that. Look at that. You know, when I first saw this, I thought Christmas, and I thought those, and I assume that is a Christmas tree back there. And then I thought, God, wouldn't it have been cool to have that Christmas tree sort of over the what is that, the Indiana Jones and the goblet of fire, or whatever, that goblet right there. It would have been great to have the tree over top that, but of course, you know, this is church, so that sends the wrong message.
Right. Of course, taking photos in church, you know.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you go. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I dig it. I love the storytelling element of this. You know, I know what the trees are, so it's good now, you know, because it's Christmas time. I kind of like know what it is, but it is a bit distracting. And then I can see the Photoshoppy work. I can see the cloning underneath the tree. And, yeah. Some heavy dodging and burning around the top of the wine container, and in between the glass and the container there, I can see it's lighter in there and it should be darker. So I can see the Photoshop stuff. But I mean, those things aside, I mean, you know, you picked this really cool image. So
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and being bored in church and making use of the time, man. Right? So why not get some cool shots out of it? I like it. Yeah, and Thomas Aaron says, very elegant. I like it. Yeah, it is very elegant looking.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stephen Scharf. So we wanted to talk about this a little bit. Obviously, I can't read this entire paragraph that Stephen put in here. Actually, that's one long paragraph. Yeah, wow. Look at that. Stephen's very...
Well,
Stephen's very passionate.
He's just... Yeah, well, he's just outlining the parameters at which, you know, he was shooting in, because we talked about the Geico sign and things like that, and that's good context, because it puts into perspective that, you know, we look at an image not knowing the context, right? We just look at the image, and our goal is, and my goal is like, you know, what would be the best for this photo, right? And then you have to sort of layer in the expectations that the photographer had, the limitations that they had. So, yeah, I mean, you know, he's talking about how, like, you know, the Geico sign's in there because they're sponsors, and the photos are going to go into promotion for the event, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And like, from my standpoint, when these critiques are not, they're not designed to dive into the minutia of constraints that may or may not have been present for each genre of photography that's submitted. For example, motorsports photography, like Stephen says, yeah, the logos have to be on the wall because sponsors pay a lot of money for them, and, you know, we're shooting from this angle because of this and all that stuff. All those rules, completely understand, and I think those rules would have a lot more weight in the context of a motorsports critique, like a critique that was focused solely on motorsports. In the context of this, what we're doing here, this is more like photographers, if you just went into a random gallery, you know, with some work hanging on the wall, and you're judging that work on its aesthetic value without knowing any of the you know, the pain, the hardships, the rules or whatever that the photographer had to go through to get that image. He's just judging it on basic photography, composition, lighting, exposure, etc., etc. That's kind of what we're doing, face value. So though I understand that, yeah, we shot these motorsports photos this way because this is motorsports and you have to do A, B, and C because this is what clients want and what advertisers are looking for and what the racetrack wants to see and all that stuff. But in the context of a pure photography sort of critique, you know, that's not really bearing on the way that you and I talk about these. In other words, you have a motorsports background, motorsports photography background, so this is less so applicable to you. But for me, when I look at these, I don't have a motorsports background, which I think is a positive. So I'm looking at these from just average Joe sort of, do I like the shot or do I not like the shot? So
right.
Yeah, I think.
But it puts it in context.
Yeah, in context. Yeah, I think this is Stephen. You know, you bring up a lot of good points in. Boy, you can write, man. You bring up a lot of good points, and I think what he wrote merits us diving deeper into that, right? So
yes, because this overlaps on weddings, family portraits. It's you know, you can't always control the environment, but you know, the couple, my clients, they don't care if there's a hair in their face, they want the hair taken out, right? So it's all about the context. So, but would I enter that in a competition? Because I look at everything like from a competition, which is maybe isn't always fair. Yeah. So yeah, that would definitely be an interesting subject because there's a lot of different genres of photography that have the same challenges. Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, that's the cool thing about photography. It is fun, and it's always changing. So, but like I said, let's definitely table this and do a more dedicated discussion. We even bring these guys on, our motorsports people on, to have a deeper conversation about, you know, what I mean, not even from a motorsports context, but from a this is what we're doing here, and this is how you judge a photograph versus this is how you judge a motorsports photograph, right? So, in other words, if we were looking at, if this is a wedding and portrait photography competition, we'd be looking at these images through a completely different lens, right? So, you know, and conversely, if this was a landscape competition, we're looking at different things. We're looking for different things.
Oh yeah,
So. All right, let's move right along.
Let's do it.
Thanks for writing all that, Stephen. I hope you didn't get carpal tunnel doing that, man. That's crazy. All right, next one up is, let's see, this is Peter Levshin. And we're going to go a little bit faster because I'm going to be getting the stink eye in a minute for not giving Mickey Mouse his due time. Sony AR...
The rabbit.
Yeah, the rabbits. Yeah, Mickey Mouse the rabbit. The Sony AR7 Mark III, 35 millimeter in Papua New Guinea. Let's bring this up.
Yeah, I know these images are amazing, and I know that, like for Peter, these have a lot of meaning for him because, you know, these are photojournalistic. I mean, these are shots that were taken in their hut and as they were moving in and out. And I know he did a little bit of dodging and burning on this, but that just, you know, that just speaks to this image that's so well done. It looks like a traditional portrait, like a Tim Ingle, right? Like if you're going to put the subject in your studio, but yet he did this in this hut in Papua.
Yeah.
You know, and look how it's super clean, and the direction of light and the expression on her face is just, you know.
Yeah. And this, looking at these kind of shots, it just makes me think, you know, and you're right, Peter doing this, it is insane that he's able to get this level of work out in the middle of nowhere, like really, right? Out in the middle of nowhere, portrait level work. And I would argue under duress, because, you know, not that he's being, you know, attacked or anything, but you're nervous. I mean, you're shooting these people that may not have been photographed before. You may not even get back to this place ever again, and you want to make sure you get the shot right. You want to be respectful. You know, there's a whole lot of things going on when Peter's making the shot, I'm sure, yet he pulled it off, right? He's still able to pull it off. So kudos to you, Peter.
Yeah, great job.
Oh, very nice.
Really glad I didn't go on that trip.
Why?
Oh, long story. You got to have him tell you about all the craziness that he had. Well, maybe he did in that interview.
He did. Yeah, we did an interview.
Yeah.
He told us, a lot of stuff.
Too many airplanes and
Yes, planes, trains, automobiles, rowboats, and everything to get to the location. Here's another one from Peter Levshin. This is infrared. It's Sony infrared converted, 24-70. And he says, as we talked about in the last critique, taking pics of this tribe is very difficult, as they have very dark skin. And if you take this in color, you can't see the tattoos. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that. Isn't that cool? I think I mentioned this. That'd be so cool to have like a, I don't know, maybe there is this already, because the secret society or secret club or whatever that in daylight, or normal vision, you can't see anything, but when they show up at their little meetings and they use different lighting, all their markings show up, Yeah.
Yeah, there's invisible tattoos.
Yeah. Are there really?
Yeah. They show up under UV, and it's I don't know why, but these images, you got to look them up in color. Maybe Peter has some color. Maybe he'll post one so you can kind of see the difference. Like the lines are there, but barely noticeable. Mm-hmm. Infrared just really brings it out, as we talked about in the last critique about infrared, and how infrared makes the skin look different and it becomes more translucent. And so, yeah, this is just a great portrait. Again, I know that this is like in his photojournalistic style, where these people were doing their thing, and he probably walked in and, they look at him, and he took like 400 shots because he just never stops holding the button down. And
yeah.
No, he's more meticulous than that. I should be fair, but
yeah. Peter didn't strike me as a spray and pray kind of guy.
No. He's good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. Nice work, Peter. Nice work.
What an expression! Like, she's just like done. And I don't know if anybody's wondering, that image, the way that it's presented there with the little tiny key line, that's how we present them for image competition, so they look finished.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, so that is that a requirement?
Yep. Well, it's not so much a requirement, but the judges expect it. So you have to think about it like if you were going to print this and hang it in a gallery, that's maybe what it would look like, as opposed to just an image floating in white space. Right, like there's a mat, there's a frame, and it contains the image and shows us where the image ends, and puts your subject inside. So it's like looking through a window, like we know exactly what we're seeing. It's treatment. It's just a presentation. Yeah. Very
cool. Nice work, Peter. Very nice work. All right. Wow, we have just a couple more to go through. All right. Joshua Sommerfelt, and Joshua says very early attempted live music photography for him. This is with his Canon EOS Rebel T6 1300D with a Yongnuo YN 50mm 1.8 at 50 millimeters, 1.8 1/200 something second, ISO 1600. Now you've had some experience shooting this kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
So what do you think? And what was your perception of shooting concert photography?
It's harder than crap. It's way harder than chasing brides around. Yeah. Lights changing, they're moving constantly. When you look at these images, it's really easy to say, I wish the neck of the guitar was a little higher, or you can't. You have to wait and anticipate that. It's very photojournalistic. Even if you have a ton of access, you still have to wait the proper expression, and sometimes the artists don't look good when they're singing, and you have to try and get all that.
Yeah. And you were out there, like when you went out, or when you shoot concerts, you go out with Steve Brazel, who is he's a concert photographer by trade, right? And from what I hear, he makes it look easy, right?
He does make it look easy. Yeah, he studies the bands. So some musicians turn to the right when they play a solo. Some turn to the left. Some of them like to throw their head down, and you got to be able to get ready for that. So this is a great shot. We got 3 band members. You don't see the drummer, but the guitarist, like, you can see what's going on there, and his face is nice. The position of the neck of the guitar is good. Nobody's overlapping each other. So yeah, it's a good storytelling image right there.
Good. Love it. Love it. Now, see, this is what we love about photography. There's always all these different genres where you can, you can practice in. You're probably never going to master them 100%, but sure, it sure is fun practicing in them.
Yeah, yeah.
This is from Laura Patton. Laura says, created this cutout bokeh. What? Created using cutout bokeh shapes. Bokeh shapes. Nice.
Yeah, these are neat. Yeah, this is a fun technique.
Yeah, I remember Lens Baby they actually did a whole lot of work in this area. Remember the early Lens Baby lenses that actually came with the inserts for making shape bokeh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like Laura says, these are cutouts, and you can cut these out of paper and do this, right?
Yep.
Do you do this kind of technique on weddings at all, or do you find it too sort of trendy?
No, it's anything that's trendy I don't do, for one. I try to stay away from that because they've seen it, right? I don't want to compete with what they've seen, but it's just not something that appeals to me to do into my shots. And I hope my brides never know that this exists.
Yeah, pretty soon. I mean, no disrespect to Laura, but because I like the shot. This is really cool. But I could see in the future this becoming a requirement, and then Troy just hating every weekend.
I'm not doing it. I just know.
Like, hey, Troy, I saw the shot that Laura Patton did a while back. Is it possible that you put some hearts above us in while we're dancing the first dance?
Part of the problem with techniques like this is that it requires a specific environment to make them work, and they don't work in all environments. So, when it comes to wedding days, for me, when somebody's like, oh, I really want a rainbow in the sky. Well, okay, yeah. We need an atmospheric, certain atmospheric condition for that. So it's.
So I tell you what, you go seed some clouds.
Yeah. Or
we'll wait
for the
We'll wait for the thunderstorm. Make sure it starts raining right around when the sun's setting, so the angle of the rays prism correctly.
Yeah. But as far as this image goes, I love the heart pattern in the background. I like that. What happens in an image like this, though, is it gets busy. And you've got these little berries hanging, and you've got the patterns in the back, and that's cool. But everything is stacked, and everything just kind of coexists in the same plane, and that's really hard for separation. And we're kind of looking at the bokeh patterns in the back more than your foreground subject. And so that's fine, but I think a different angle would have helped. Like the heart shapes would have been in the background, and then the berries would have been really close to the camera, offset to the side, separated a little bit more, sort of simplifying the composition, if you will.
Yeah. Yep. All right, moving right along. Let's see.
Dos más.
All right, yeah. Mike Doran, here we go. This image was created during a Moto America Superbike race where Roger Hayden was in his 20th and final year of racing.
Wow.
And I just want to point out that this cyclist is moving from the left to the right, right? So, Mike, I know you did that on purpose, so thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool. I dig this.
Yeah, no, I love that. The motion in the tires, and that critical moment. It doesn't quite look like his knee is even on the ground. So, he's moving out. To be able to lean like this, he's got a lot of momentum, a lot of centrifugal force holding him down to lean like that without his knee on the ground. Even at that, they're going fast. I mean, so this is a peak of the moment type shot, which is really great. Yeah. And sharp, of course, all the way to the back of the bike.
Yeah, that's it.
But not too far behind, though, right? Just behind the bike, it's got a little bit of shallowness there. So,
yeah, that's crazy. Much respect for this genre of photography, because this is just, I mean, like Stephen was saying in his write up there. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of different constraints that these guys are under, notwithstanding that limited mobility and fast-moving subjects and needing to have the right glass and jockeying other photographers that are out there and all that stuff to get these amazing shots. So kudos to these guys.
Yeah.
So Troy, do you think you've heard of those Can-Am motorcycles, right? The three-wheelers? Are we ever going to see a motorsports race like this with those guys?
I don't think real motorcyclists appreciate those.
Hey, what do you mean real motorcyclists? Are Can-Am riders not real motorcyclists? Come on.
I don't know.
Right.
Just set me
I'm putting that out there.
Doing?
Stephen Scharf, who, by the way, in his comment at the bottom said Scharf in German stands for sharp, by the way. So Stephen Scharf and Mike Doran, let us know if you've ever seen Can-Am motorsports. Is that a thing, or are Can-Am bikes strictly for people that are riding around, of a certain age? Which would be my age, by the way, so no disrespect to anybody in my age group. So I'm wondering, because I'm considering one. This is why I ask. I'm considering getting one of those things. But I don't want to be a laughingstock. Okay. So
Too late.
Too late. I like those things, man. They're cool bikes. They look like Batmobiles.
Oh, my God.
All right. And I have never been one to like buy the stuff that I buy based on public opinion. So if you see me on a Can-Am, I'm going to be riding that thing with pride. All right, here's another one from Mike. This image was created as the two racers were heading to the finish line. Let's bring this guy up. Wow, look at that. This is it.
Yeah.
He's like, I am on you. I will catch you. No, you won't. You will not catch me. Look at this. I mean, God, look at the contact patch of these motorcycles. And he still has about 2 inches to go in leaning space, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy on the inside is pushing really hard.
Yeah, he's hungry.
This is a really amazing image in a number of ways that Mike probably wasn't able to set up, and that is you've got the Red Bull symbol in the background, which isn't cut off or obscured. You can see the heat waves coming up through it, which is kind of cool. You've got the red and the blue of the Red Bull. You've got the red and blue of the bikes. The bikes are overlapping just enough, but they're not obscuring each other.
Yeah.
Those are photojournalistic moments that are amazing, right? Like those are the things that you wait for or you try to get to position yourself for. So
it really makes me want to get out there and try this kind of photography.
Yes. Well, I did speak to Mike, and he did threaten that he might want to get us out there. So
Mike's been threatening that. Yeah, we tried once. It didn't pan out for a lot of reasons, mainly because of the storms and crap and smoke that were plaguing California at the time. But definitely want to try that again. You should definitely come up.
I will.
We should
I'll do it.
Converge and let Mike show us the ropes of motorsports.
Yeah. The only thing that I see in here, and that would be fun, I would love to do that, is it looks like some dodging and some burning may have been done on the track around the bikes, and it's not consistent, right? Like underneath number 46, it's a lighter than just in front and just to the left of the tire.
Yeah,
it looks like
halo.
There's a little halo, but not much.
Yep, minor.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for submitting that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is all of them, right? Did we get through everything?
I think so.
No, we didn't. There's one more.
Yeah, the decomposing flowers. Yeah, that would be the last one.
Yes, I don't want to miss that one from Drake White. Drake says, personal work, decomposing flowers, this is a Fuji X Pro 2 60mm Iridium post-processing. An 8x10 white card was used for fill, exposed for detail, knowing the leaded window in the background would blow out. All right, let's bring this guy up. Wow, look at that.
Wow.
I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add to this. I mean, that little line at the bottom, I probably would have just knocked that guy out of there. But this shot it's creepy and beautiful at the same time.
Right. No, it's really nice. It's not really a critique. It's just more of like a stream of consciousness. I'm kind of struggling with the noisy background, the patterns that are in the background.
That leaded window, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it would be better if it was just white, like it just cleaned that up. Like the blown out background is fine.
I thought about that, and I hear you. I'm on the fence about that because if it was just white, then it would just, it's closer to just being clip art. Right?
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah. Because at that point it's just like, okay, there's a graphic that I can composite into something else, right? Right. This would make a really great macro subject too. Moving in really close, but very, very cool creative self project. Yeah, I love it. I wonder if this is part of a larger project. So Drake White, let us know. I mean, you said this is personal
like a
work.
Series. Yeah.
Yeah, is this part of a series? I'd love to see some of the other shots in the series if this is part of a larger group.
So he could have been out like cleaning up his yard and got rid of some sunflowers, and he tossed them aside and then went, "Oh, I like that." And then yard work ceases while you photograph.
Exactly. Okay, priorities, man. Priorities.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Looks like we've gotten through all of them. Let's put us back on the screen here. Boom. Look at that. We made it. This is historic. Before we end this real quick, I want to say this is historic. First of all, Troy Miller got up early to do this critique. Thank you. So that I could go hit Disneyland. So thank you for getting up early to do this. Secondly, this is the first time I've done any sort of TWiP recording or critique or otherwise remotely like this. Tethered to an iPhone. Got a lav mic that I keep in my bag that I'm using, and this is sort of bare bones bivouac style podcasting YouTubing, right? So, and I'm using the camera that's built into the MacBook Pro, and window light for lighting. So, it's we pulled it off, I think. What do you think?
It worked great. Yeah.
So we did it, and now it is it's off to ride some roller coasters and spin in some teapots and go check out the Pirates of the Caribbean. And the Avengers and the Incredibles and on and on and on, right? So all these Disney properties that you didn't know Disney owned are apparently here. So, so we're gonna go check those out now. All right, Troy Miller, any final words for this critique? And also, where would you like people that haven't seen these critiques before, where would you like them to go to check out some of your work?
You can check out my work at spicyjello.com or at spicyjello on Instagram. I've always got something posted up there, some random thought that I had. And as far as the submitters today, I mean, these are great. I mean, we were both amazed at how many images were in there. Yeah. Right. Like it was like 19. We're like, gosh, there's a lot. Yeah. So, good job with that. I think that it's amazing to see so many people, creating imagery, unique imagery that, maybe you and I don't do or haven't done in a long time or we don't see all the time. So it's neat. It's inspiring. So yeah. Keep it up.
No, I 100% agree. Cool. All right. Well, on to the next one, right? So folks that are watching, make sure you get your images submitted into TWiP PRO so that we can review them. It is Monday as we record this. We typically try to do these on Mondays, and only wild horses could stop us from doing this, which they have occasionally done. So
yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have stopped us. So, but if at all possible, we try to ask for submissions to be in by Sunday so that we can record on Monday and then rinse and repeat for the next week. So if you want to have your image critiqued on TWiP PRO, you got to be a member. So you can join us at twippro.com. and jump on board, submit your images into the photo critique category, and you'll see us step through them just like we did here today. So
perfect.
Cool, man. All right, that's it. It's time to get out of here. What do you say?
I say go. Now it's time for lunch.
All right.
Do lunch.
All right, man.
You have fun.
See you later. Peace.
Sure.
This is TWiP.